Welcome back to that Shiro Life podcast. I'm your host, Burnett Sherman, and this episode is going to be a little different. I thought about how much my life has changed since I got here in Atlanta. I want to talk about that for a bit. So if you're interested in creating abundance, wealth, prosperity, joy, good relationships, love, keep listening. I hope this episode serves as a bit of inspiration to you. I've been talking a lot today because I'm recording the audiobook, my Menopause Mojo audiobook. So I'm sorry if my voice is a little raspy. I do have my water near to help. But I thought about how much my life has changed since I came to Atlanta in August. It was actually August 20th, 1994. Let me tell you, y'all have no idea. And I'm going to get a little open and vulnerable with you. Not something that this private Capricorn does very often. But it really hit me with the force of 30 years rushing in. I remember the first week I got here and got to campus as excited freshman at Clark Atlanta University. I moved into the dorms, had a freshman week, and it was so much fun. I was making friends. It was exciting. I was in Atlanta. This is where dreams were made. Well, the first week I got there, I was in those dorms, like I said. But I had to move out of the dorms by the end of that first week because we couldn't afford it. And I had the choice. I could either catch a bus to Rochester or figure it out. I wound up finding a boarding house near campus, and a friend helped me haul my stuff over. So from living in boarding rooms, the late night bus rides, working 3 jobs sometimes, and always working while in school full time. And then to the man I dated, married, and had the courage to leave, all the way to now, in the life, love, and abundance I have. Whew. If you would have told the girl living in public housing or crying for joy over a bag of clothes handed down to me from a family at church that this, what I'm living right now, would be my life, I would have smiled politely, but I wouldn't have believed you. If you would have told the 20-year-old me this when I was struggling to pay rent, get to school, get to work, and deal with a bad relationship, that this would be my life, I would have smiled hopefully, but I have no idea how. But that was the year something clicked. I didn't know how I might get there, but that was when I wrote the quote I still tell myself to this day. It's this: despite all the obstacles that may appear to be in your way, the only true obstacles are the ones you place in your head. That year I decided to compete in my first pageant. I won even though I didn't have the nicest shoes or prettiest gown. I became Miss Black Georgia Metroplex. Then I went on to be Miss Black International. I graduated, got a good job, got married, made mistakes, many mistakes. Got fired from my first real job. Got another job, had a baby, got divorced, made more mistakes, found love, made even more mistakes, found myself, and finally started getting back on track. It wasn't quick. No. I lost myself for large chunks of time. But I held to a truth and the secret I knew and understood. I also held the hope of my mom and my ancestors, those who sacrificed and gave for me, so I could be here. I didn't do it alone. No one is ever self-made, I believe, unless you literally birthed yourself, came out the womb, and then fed yourself, clothed yourself, made sure you were sheltered and protected. You are not self-made. I'm not self-made, so I didn't do it alone. The man I love, he and I have done this together. Him, from parents who didn't even graduate high school, and me, from parents who simply had fewer opportunities. One with mental illness for as long as I can remember, and one, a woman who was Black. When I was 16, my mom, she asked me if I was going to be rich. I remember this. I think I nodded, and I told her I wanted enough money to have someone come and clean the house when I wanted. That sure seemed rich to me. It's funny because I've been 16 3 times. That's crazy, right? But my mom taught us to work hard, to be willing to help and to serve, and to remain humble. She wanted us to have a better life than she had, more opportunities than she had. And she poured into us so that we could have that. She truly did. I thank her every day for what she did for us, what she poured into us, the prayers she said over us, the sacrifices she made for us. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still coming into my own. I'm still figuring things out. But I have figured out other things, like how to manifest good health, right relationships, love, joy, and wealth. Yes, and abundance. And not in the forceful, overwork, stress yourself to the max way, but in that divine feminine flow way. In alignment, in partnership, using the yin and yang energies. But there's always more than one way to accomplish anything. But I think wealth, good health, love, joy, relationships, those are some key ingredients for a good life. When I was trying to make myself smaller, shrink, hide, so I wouldn't make other people too uncomfortable, I can now look back and realize that I started to hide behind my weight. And as other things blossomed in our lives, including our abundance, so did my weight grow as well. It was a combination of perimenopause and an inner block I had around being rejected and ostracized for being who I am. I had my share of mean girls as a kid. After using my Love Me poems for my Love Me journal to heal some of that little girl's wounds, I was able to move into my wellness journey. I allowed myself to shed the weight. After that happened, there wasn't anything else between me and that person I held in my vision. That was honestly a little scary. It was. Being bullied and teased by girls I wanted to be my friends, it left its mark. What if it happened again? What if they, the women I wanted to be friends with, decided again to shut me out? Realized I had to do even more healing of myself because I was struggling with the uncertainty of how I'd be treated. So yeah, if you know me, I got fit. I got myself healthy. And that book, Menopause Mojo, Who Moved My Curves, is coming next week. It'll be an ebook first, and then it'll be on audiobook, as an audiobook, probably on Audible, and then it'll be in paperback. But I did the healing, and I have been doing the mindset for years, for so many years. And that book is coming early next year. I have manifested the life I absolutely love. I've started a book on manifestation as well. I'm a writer. What else am I going to do, right? I'm going to write. My husband and I have created generational wealth. And I realize that not everyone knows how to receive that into their lives. And it's really a process, I believe. It's mindset. It's a use of law of attraction, universal principles, spirituality. But being in alignment, body, mind, and spirit is also part of it. And it's got to be the balance. And you have to have a vehicle for money to flow into your life. It's got to have some way to move from the ether into reality. That book may come someday. We'll see. I have a feeling it will. But I've made my mistakes, and I am sure that I'm going to make more. I've had to do a lot of healing and forgiveness work. I still feel uncertain sometimes and have to catch myself when the fear of being rejected crops up. I'm human, imperfect, sometimes a bit overly creative and everywhere. I can admit that, I know it. But now I have this focus and this clarity that I haven't had before. It's that divine purpose. It's being divinely guided and not fighting it. I think that's key. Because a lot of us are divinely guided, but we're fighting it, or we aren't in alignment yet where we can actually walk in it. I share this because I want to give someone hope that it can be better, that it is possible, that you can do it. If you have a child that you have hopes for, let them create that vision for their lives now. Don't tamp it down. Don't try to keep them from being disappointed. Let them dream. Let them see what's possible. Let them know there are people who are out there doing it. And they may not be flashy. They may not be athletes or movie stars. But they're still doing it. They may lead seemingly ordinary lives. If you're already grown, it's not too late. I believe you can bend time so it doesn't take as long when you have the keys. It's taken years for me and for us to use these key principles to unlock door after door. But we were figuring out which key was what they were, where they were, which door they were going to unlock, instead of having someone just hand them to us and explain. I think it was when we unlocked the door on the home we bought last year that it was a bit like, oh, we're here now. We're here now. But I still drive my 8-year-old minivan. Part of it is because I don't want people to make assumptions or treat me differently. And I'll probably keep driving it for a while because Bessie is awesome. She's a hard worker. I appreciate cars that work hard. I'm still the serious, introverted, sometimes outgoing, hardworking, and at times less confident than I seem woman I have always been. Please don't treat me differently or ostracize me for being who I am. All parts of who I am. We all strive for acceptance. We all strive to be loved, accepted, and acknowledged and appreciated for who we are. All of us. But I wanted to share that because I wanted to give some hope. I wanted to let you all get to know me a little bit better. And because it may impact how I proceed with this podcast, knowing that I am being called to serve in a different way. I am being called to walk, in my divine purpose, which may include shifting out of some things I started this podcast, that Share Life podcast, to help women break through their own blocks to create their own epic lives. Why? Because I know it's possible. I have the tools to help other women, and I wanted to share some of those tools with you. And this season has a few more episodes. This is season 2, which was supposed to be the call to adventure. And I'm allowing myself to be led by Spirit, which is why I was led to share this episode with you today. It was, as I said, 30 years rushing in of being here in Atlanta. But the podcast, I've enjoyed doing it, but it hasn't done what I was hoping it would do, what I set out to do with it. But it is something I wanted to do to help, so I did. So if you want more of this podcast, I need to hear from you about what you want. I need to hear from you, period. I need to see the show get downloads so I know it's touching people. So these next few weeks are a test to see if season 2 will be it. If that's the case, so be it. I won't be upset because I know that I am being divinely guided and led, and what is meant to be will be, and what is meant for me will be for me. This I know. In the meantime, I'm not sitting idly on my hands. I've been busy. I've written Menopause Mojo, Who Moves My Curves, which will be out in ebook on the 1st or 2nd. And then I'll be putting it out on audiobook and then in paperback in September as well. I'm in the process of recording the audiobook now, which is why my voice sounds like it does. So I'm probably not going to record anymore today because the voice needs to rest. Let me tell you, people who do audio narration, my goodness. It's a for real thing. Much respect. It takes time. If you're in the Atlanta area, I would love to see you in person. I'll be at Switzer Library in Marietta, Georgia on the 7th for the author fair they're doing there. And I'm planning to do a fair on the 8th, but I'll update the notes on that if I do that one. And then I'll be speaking at the Atlanta Writers Club on September 21st. I'll talk about presenting and stage presence, public speaking for authors. So to be able to better sell your book from the stage and sell yourself from the stage. And I'll be a panelist at the Broadleaf Writers Association annual conference on September 22nd. So I'd love to meet you and see you. I will be signing books at these events, and I should have paperbacks of Menopause Mojo by the events later in September. That is my goal. It will likely depend on shipping times because that can take a long time. But let's be optimistic. One thing I've learned, I want to go back to this. One thing I've learned over the years is when something like an activity, something you're doing, isn't in alignment or it's done what it was meant to do, you acknowledge it. You acknowledge the lesson, the blessings, and then release it. Perhaps you've experienced that in your life too. It takes maturity and humility to step away from something. So we will see what happens after this episode. It's got 3 more. So September 19th will be episode 20. And we'll see. I'll be okay with whatever's there. But if you do want to see this podcast, stick around. You do have topics you want me to talk about. Wellness and wealth are going to be my thing. I'm telling you that right now. And especially as they apply to women in midlife in particular. So if you want to hear more about that, talk about that, have questions about that, I would love to hear from you. Silence is also a message, and I received that as well. I want to say thank you for listening. If you made it this far through this episode, thank you for listening to this episode of That Share Life podcast. Oh, and Mom, we can get that house cleaner now. I hope that you have an amazing day. There is no mini message. I think I've given you a word in itself. But I hope that you will chime in, drop me an email, send me an email if you're on my newsletter, reply. It goes out on Friday. And I would just love to hear from you. Thank you again for listening to That Cheryl Life. I am Burnett Sherman. Take care.